afternoon. Welcome back to Football League World TV. It's time for the latest episode of the debate, and here we're looking at three players that could decide the Championship playoff race this season. I'm your host, George Dagless, and joining me are Billy Mulley and Marcus Ally. Billy, how you getting on?
Yeah, doing very well, thank you. Something completely different, and I'm looking forward to getting into our picks.
Yeah, Marcus, how are you?
Yeah, really well, thanks, George. One of the most exciting parts of the Football League to follow at the moment, I think, is that Championship playoff race. So looking forward to profiling some of the potential difference makers.
Yeah, some key stars could make all the difference between now and the end of the season in the Championship. We are live across Facebook, YouTube and Twitter for the next 20 or so minutes. Let us know, Championship fans, who do you think could be the key players in the final few weeks of the campaign. Let's get going. Before the show, just an explainer for those watching, I asked you both to send me three players each that you felt could make a difference. Interestingly, you picked two different players and then one was the same. So we'll go with the one that you both picked first of all. We'll start with Chris Willock at QPR. Billy, we'll come to you first of all on this one. Chris Willock's had a great season overall for Rangers, and at times in recent weeks under Mark Warburton, he's been tasked with leading the line as well. That kind of shows you just how important he's been for QPR.
Yeah, very important. I think that the statistics pretty much speak for themselves. 7 goals and 10 assists this season. Played a very good part next to Elias Chair, and when Chair's been unavailable, he stepped up and filled the not creative void, but the creativity that Chair leaves out the side when he's not in it. Then Willock picks it up, and he's been brilliant. I think we've spoken a lot this season about him being Premier League quality, someone that should QPR go up, he will have an effect in the higher division. I think the last 2 games it hasn't quite worked out. I think he was taken off at half-time following the red card against Blackpool. And also I think he lasted 60 minutes last time out as well. But he's a player that get him in the right kind of form, getting him in the form that he's shown this season, then he's going to be vital. He's someone that, you know, he's not just restricted to someone that looks to break the lines and his ability on the ball. He's someone that is a willing runner, seen as some of the goals he scored. One against Luton sticks out in my mind, where he goes in behind, shows the desire to get there and scores from that way. So he's a player that, you know, there's a lot of avenues to his success. There's a lot of routes, and he's someone definitely that could have a big impact with QPR seemingly sliding out of the playoffs as it seems at the moment. Get him back in form, then I'm sure QPR will follow.
Yeah, I mean, it's testament really, isn't it, Marcus, to how hard he's worked at QPR. There was a time earlier on in his Rangers career where he wasn't really guaranteed a start, was there? And now he's arguably one of the first names on the team sheet.
Absolutely, yeah. He's had a real coming of age season. 24 now, has had quite a turbulent sort of introduction into senior football, with quite a few moves, some loan moves, left the country and came back as well. And now I'd probably argue that he's been even more influential than Elias Chair for Rangers this season. Part of my angle in picking him as one of these key players looking into who can make the difference in the chasing pack potentially come the final few weeks of the season is that I do expect at some stage QPR to slip out of it. It's just whether or not they'll be able to get those wins together in the last sort of 3 or 4 games to give themselves a fighting chance of breaking back in there. It is just 1 win in 6 for Rangers now, and there's an argument that they have been punching a little bit above their weight all season. They rank 15th on expected points. Now, if they are to be able to turn that form around, I don't see anyone more sort of prominent figure in the side than Chris Willock. 7 goals and 7 assists in all competitions this season. And a lot of their wins have been very sort of low margin games that they've been able to fall on the right side of. They've scored plenty of late goals along the way. And I think Willock is that player in the side that when the scores are level with 20 minutes, half an hour to go, he is a player in the attacking third that the rest of the team looks to give the ball and to make something happen. He's so versatile. Can play centrally, can play off either flank, very comfortable on both feet. And he's just a very dangerous player that I think when we're kind of in that sort of mini season where each club kind of assesses what they've got to do in the final sort of 10 or we've got about 13 games to go. Willock could be a huge player in having deciding contributions on getting QPR extra points that they might need to keep the likes of Nottingham Forest and Sheffield United at bay in the next few months.
Yeah, he's had a wonderful season so far, scored some really impressive goals as well along the way, Chris Willock. You certainly wouldn't bet against him being the key man for QPR if they do make the playoffs come at the end of the campaign. Let's move away from Willock then. Let's keep with the attacking theme though. Marcus, we'll come to one of your picks before the show. A Nottingham Forest player, someone in similar respects to Willock, has had a real sort of formative campaign, a little bit younger than Willock though. But what season he's had at the City Ground, and that's Brennan Johnson.
Yeah, definitely one of the stories of the season. Cooper and leading Nottingham Forest back up the table has been with Brennan Johnson as a real key player. He's been involved in all 33 of Forest's league games, starting every single one apart from one, which he came on as a substitute in. So that just shows how crucial he's been at the City Ground, one of the first names on the team sheet. And for me, it's not even what he does on the ball that can impact the game so much. The intelligence of his movement, the way he can pull defenders sort of out of position with his direct runs really does have a great impact on the rest of the players around him. He's got 11 goals and 6 assists in all competitions, which considering I don't think he played in the Championship, or at least not had an extended run before this season, has been a brilliant sort of acclimatisation after what the success that he achieved with Lincoln City last season. He's a real X-factor player. He'll be playing in the Premier League, I'm sure, next season with or without Nottingham Forest. And yeah, they're 3 points off the pace at the moment, definitely well involved in that chasing pack. And for me, all of the teams between third and sixth, all 4 spots are completely up for grabs. You've got Forest down in ninth, but in terms of points per game and just points that they've got on the board already, excuse me, that they're not that far away. So I think it is going to be close. Obviously, Forest still in the FA Cup as well. So whether that fixture congestion could play its role, they might be relying on possibly having to win their final 3 or 4 games of the season in a row just to force their way in there. And I think if you are to pick out any player that's going to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and really push them on to really break into that top 6, it has to be Brennan Johnson for me.
Yeah, you make a good case, Marcus, for Brennan Johnson being key in the running. And Billy obviously wasn't one of your picks before the show, but I'm sure you can still appreciate the talent he's got. And you just have to say as well, it's a real indicator of the continued success Steve Cooper has when he's working with the younger players. We've seen it with the likes of Rhian Brewster when he went to Swansea on loan. He had a great time there, and obviously Swansea had a number of young players excelling under Cooper. He's obviously worked for the England youth set up as well in the past and done similar jobs at Liverpool. And he's continuing to show what he can do with these young talents in the shape of Johnson.
Yeah, if you're a young English player, you'd love to play under Steve Cooper, the track record that he's proven to have in recent years. And it seems that Brennan Johnson is going to be another one of those success stories. As Marcus says, the versatility that he's had this season, the amount of games he's played, but he's also played, both wings. He's played an attacking midfielder. He's been playing up front as well. And to have a player so young and so crucial to a team, I think is really, really impressive. I think the only reason I didn't go for Brennan Johnson is because I think Nottingham Forest as a whole have a lot of game changers, a lot of players that have come in and can have a real big effect. Whereas when I was looking at QPR, I feel Willock is the kind of player that has to be on song if they are to do anything this season. Whereas, with Nottingham Forest, the threats come all over the pitch. And whilst probably Brennan Johnson does top the ranks in terms of Forest players who will have an impact, it's going to be very, very interesting to see what kind of role he plays in the rest of the season. As Marcus says, he adapted to League One football brilliantly last year, stepped up to Championship football almost seamlessly. And it's just a real joy to watch him play football because, as Marcus says, it's not just what he does with the football at his feet. His movement's incredible. The ability he has out of possession as well. He presses very intelligently. He presses at good speed as well. The amount of times he rushes defenders into mistakes, it's an all-round player. He's brilliant on the ball, but yeah, as Marcus says, that it's those other little factors that will make him a Premier League footballer.
Certainly looks destined for the top flight with or without Forest in the near future, doesn't he, Brennan Johnson? One final player to talk about on this debate show in terms of 3 players that could decide the Championship playoff race. And Billy, that's your pick, Ben Brereton Diaz of Blackburn Rovers. He's had a brilliant season. It's unlucky for him in a way that he's been challenging Alexander Mitrovic for the Golden Boot this year in the Championship, because we know how well the Serbian's done as well up front. But having said all of that, the Chilean international been a great campaign, but he's got injured at a crucial time for Blackburn. He's out for a handful of weeks at least, and in some ways it could be that makes the race for Blackburn a little bit harder and could decide it in someone else's favour. But if he comes back and is fit, then Blackburn have every chance, don't they?
Yeah, that's exactly my point really in selecting Ben Brereton Diaz. Obviously, he's going to miss the next few games, miss the last couple as well. So it's very, very interesting to see when he comes back and if he can have that sort of desired effect that Blackburn fans will be hoping for. Of course, I think the likes of Reda Kadra and Tyrese Dolan, particularly last time out, both played very, very well and have that ability to cut open defences and create chances. But Ben Brereton Diaz just proven this season just how important he is in front of goal. He's not the sheer amount of goals he scored already this season; it's the importance of them. And when you crunch down the numbers, it's 43% of Blackburn's goals have come through Ben Brereton Diaz this season, and that's with him missing 5 of those games. So I think it does place a lot of emphasis on the kind of player he is and ensuring that he can come back for the last stage of the season, because it's incredibly important for Blackburn. They were looking automatic promotion contenders, and now we're seeing this playoff chasing pack inflicting a lot of pressure, and it could be Blackburn and QPR that drop out, which seems crazy to think after a month ago. You definitely wouldn't have been thinking along those lines. As I say, he does have good players around him, and when Ben Brereton Diaz comes around and he's got Dolan to his right and Kadra to the left, or whichever way around it will be, I'm sure Blackburn will start firing again like we know they can do.
Marcus Brereton Diaz, he's a player that's had a great season, great story as well, given his Chilean call up and how well that seems to have boosted his confidence. But as we mentioned with Billy there, it's all about when he gets back fit and how fit he is, and that could determine whether Blackburn are going to be in the Premier League potentially next season.
Yeah, it's very hard to put a sort of timer on an ankle ligament injury. Tony Mowbray's been quite sort of tight-lipped on the situation, whether he's a bit nervous about hitting the morale of the fan base with possibly disguising it as a shorter-term injury than it's going to be. But he is expected to play some part towards the back end of the season regardless. It looks like maybe he won't be at full throttle until the final sort of handful of games. However, the situation that Blackburn could be in by then, could make him have a huge influence on them and the sides around them. The way it's going, it definitely looks like it's going down to the final day, and we're going to have a handful of teams battling it out for maybe 5th and 6th, maybe even more places in the table. Just in my opinion, I feel more confident about Blackburn than the other sides that are currently in between 3rd and 6th place in the league at the moment. However, saying that doesn't mean that they're not going to have some nervy moments, possibly some must-win games with top 6 on the line, and possibly just an intangible. The way the season has gone, I don't think it would surprise anyone to maybe see Ben Brereton Diaz pop up with a stoppage time goal right towards the end of the season, wheel away with that floppy hair, and continue just to have the incredible season and just add even more context on what has been an incredible story, scoring way more goals this season than he even had previously in his career. 23 goals in all competitions, including some, of course, for the Chile national team. So, hopefully for Blackburn fans' sake, it's not going to be too long before he does return to the matchday squad, and Mowbray can at least start easing him back in. I think they're in good hands. They got a hard-working striker in Gallagher to fill in through his absence. I think Brereton Diaz could have a huge impact on hopefully turning Blackburn Rovers' sort of small slip away from the automatic promotion places around come the end of the season. He'll definitely be one to keep an eye on if, like I say, we are going into the final day looking at about 4 or 5 teams having the chance to really decide their fate with a result.
Certainly would be fitting, wouldn't it, if he fired Blackburn to the Premier League if and when he does return before the end of the season from injury. That's been the debate on Football League World TV for today. One more show coming up on the channel. That's the EFL midweek preview. That's at 4 o'clock. Alfie Burns is hosting that one. Toby Wilding and Chris Gallagher are with him. Plenty more fixtures to come, both in the EFL and, of course, FA Cup action over the next couple of days as well. Billy, Marcus, thanks for joining me this afternoon. Been great to hear which players you think are going to make a positive impact on the Championship race between now and the end of the season. And thanks to those that have joined us as well watching. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel, Football League World TV. That'd be greatly appreciated if you can, and do like this video as well. But from myself, Billy and Marcus, it's bye for now.